Good morning, everyone. It is now Tuesday, May 26th. This is a meeting of the Westwood Select Board. We are doing this meeting virtually, as we have been for a number of weeks now. And I will start by granting Westwood Media Center permission to record this meeting and live stream it. And as usual, we have posted this on our usual means in Town Hall online to let people know how they can join this meeting and watch it live, and it will certainly be available on the local cable channels afterwards. So good morning, everyone, and I'd like to start by turning over the chair's update to John Hickey, who is the incoming chair and led a wonderful event yesterday, and also was part, as we all were, of a pre-recorded Memorial Day ceremony. So John, why don't you just give us your thoughts on what happened?
Thanks, Nancy. So yesterday morning, we had a contingent meet at Morrison Field in the morning. It was Dottie and I and Chris McEwen, our veterans agent, the DPW team, police, fire, and we had a mini parade, although it was not so many. We had a good group of people, and we headed to Mrs. Christine Devlin's house on Downey Street. Mrs. Devlin is Westwood's Gold Star mother, and we dropped off some flowers. Her family was there, some of her neighbors, and I know Dottie will tell you they were just so incredibly appreciative of our efforts. And from there, we headed to Harry Aaron's house on Ridgewood, and he was to be the Grand Marshal in this year's Memorial Day Parade. And again, his neighbors came out en masse, and they were all just really appreciative, and it was just a really nice event. I think everybody who participated just got a lot out of it, and it was just our way of remembering our commemorations. Although different, we're still important, and Chris was with us, and it was just a great morning, and I know everybody involved was really, really glad we did it, and we were glad we did it. So thank you for everybody for all your help and support. It was a lot of logistics. Michelle Miller really was behind the scenes helping us pull this off. Westwood Media Center was live and filming at all the locations, so it was just a great event, and I think we really did the town a great service, and it was a great event.
Thanks for doing that, John, and for being part of it. Dottie, you want to say anything? Dottie? Oh.
It was a wonderful morning, and I can tell you that, seeing Chris Devlin at the parades over the years and going to her, so happy. Harry Aaron as well. I mean, Harry's so much.
Dottie, we're having trouble with your audio. Yeah. Anything you can do on that, Connor? Or is that coming from her?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are. Yep. So again, about Christine Devlin and Harry. Yeah.
Christine Devlin, again, she's been, and we've acknowledged her every Memorial Day, and it was just really special to go to her home, and she was thrilled with the presentation, and then on to Harry Aaron's house. And Harry, again, he's a big instrument in the town. He's done a lot for the town. He's done a lot for the Memorial Day Parade every year, and just to see him get that honor, he was so humbled, and it made his day. And his families. It was great.
I would encourage people who view this meeting to know that this was recorded and turned into a short video. And we also had a pre-recorded video for the Memorial Day program at the new cemetery. So people can watch that. I know it's being shared via social media. And I think it's worth taking the time to watch it. And congratulations to everybody who made it happen. It's really, really nice. Okay, to our scheduled action, we have a few agenda items as it relates to the upcoming town meeting and town election. And I want to start by asking Chris Coleman to speak to us about what we should and don't need to be covering this morning. And maybe that will involve Pat, because this agenda was prepared in advance, but there are some things that are still pending. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Chris. All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, the intention of this meeting, we had hoped to have had some resolution from some legislation that's being circulated up at the state, as well as Mr. Ahern's complaint that he's filed at Norfolk Superior Court. We don't have decisions on either of those at this point. Those both were trying to reduce the quorum, to get some relief to reduce the quorum. And then also in reducing the quorum, we may have to reduce, well, at least with the complaint, we would have to reduce the number of articles. So we don't have resolution on either of those at this point. I'll ask Mr. Ahern if he can just expand on the complaint and also Senate Bill 2680, which is some of the draft legislations that's being circulated at the state. My recommendation to the board at this point is to push everything but the signing of the annual town election warrant to a future meeting. And I would also recommend to post meetings for Friday, May 29th, and also Monday, June 1st. And Mr. Ahern can talk a little bit about what is tentatively scheduled for his complaint on Friday.
Thank you, Chris.
So I learned late Friday that we have a hearing scheduled on our complaint for 11 o'clock on Friday at Norfolk Superior Court. I'm told it will be done via Zoom. I don't have the Zoom instructions yet, nor have I seen the order for the hearing. So we're waiting for those. So by Friday at 11, we'll end up in front of Judge Connors, who's the Regional Associate Justice. That's who it's scheduled to appear before right now, and we'll get to argue our side of why it's important that we reduce the quorum. And I plan to emphasize the fact that nothing in our complaint prevents anyone from going to town meeting. It just allows the town to move forward if attendance is not as robust as it usually is, given the pandemic situation. The legislation is still somewhere in the House. I believe it's with the House Ways and Means, unless Dottie, you've heard otherwise. The tricky thing about the legislation is that if you want to use the legislation to reduce the quorum, you have to post a meeting announcing that you're going to discuss and potentially vote to reduce the quorum 7 days in advance of that meeting. So that would mean the earliest we could do that right now would be June 2nd. You need to post the warrant for 7 days. So you're not going to get, if we are relying on the legislation, you're not going to get a June 8th town meeting if the earliest you can post a meeting for 7 days out would be June 2nd, which it is. So we're still moving forward on 2 tracks. We will know better, hopefully the end of the week, early next week, which track, if either, are going to provide us the relief we're seeking.
Okay. So that would if that becomes the option in terms of us taking action to reduce the quorum, if that passes at the state, that translates into a change in town meeting from June 8th. Right now it's scheduled for June 8th, but I think it's good that we all be aware that that we're still in a fluid situation.
That's correct.
John, Michael, do you have questions for Pat and Chris on this?
No, I've been talking to Pat, so.
Okay.
Yeah, same. I'm good.
Okay, so where we are right now is we have June 8th set. Chris has indicated to us we should set up a couple meetings, Friday this week, Monday next week, to be able to respond to what may come out of the State House or what may come out of Superior Court. In the meantime, really all we're asked to do today is to discuss and vote to sign the and post the 2020 annual town election warrant. So this is for June 2nd's town election. Anybody have any questions on that before we proceed to that agenda item?
No.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Not a
Chris.
question, but just a point that we do need the signatures.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Mhm.
So Michael, since you've been doing the motions, I think we're on page 21 of our meeting packet regarding the action we need to take on the town election.
Thank you. Let me just find it here. Okay. So I move that we sign the annual town election warrant to be held on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020.
Second.
Mr. Walsh,
Aye.
Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
and I say aye as well, so that passes unanimously, and we all need to sign that so Dottie can post it today.
Point of order, Madam Chairman.
Yes,
Mr. Walsh, will you also move to post the warrant, please?
Yes. I move the amended, and go back to page 21 here.
just make another motion.
Okay. I move that we sign and post the annual town election warrant to be held on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020.
Second.
Mr. Walsh,
Aye.
Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
I say aye as well. So what I want to go back to is explain again to anybody who's watching this meeting, our first agenda item was to discuss and consider a quorum reduction and potential vote to reduce the quorum at the annual town meeting. We had a brief discussion highlighting that we do not know, that we do know the state legislation regarding this is still pending, and our motion or our complaint in Superior Court is also still pending until Friday. The next item is to review the annual town meeting warrant articles. We voted at our last meeting to remove the 2 miscellaneous articles. Otherwise, we are not taking any action at this date regarding the what will be covered at town meeting. It's still also pending what comes out of the state or the Superior Court action. And then we have a discussion vote to sign the post of the 2020 annual town meeting warrant. We're holding off on that because we don't know if we need to postpone town meeting further from June 8th. So we will not take any action on that. And the same holds with the actual postponement. So there were agenda items that we had on this meeting today that we cannot proceed with at this time. Is there any discussion of that further before we move to discuss meeting dates and times?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So, and I would say that we also, when we reconvene at one of the upcoming meetings, we'll also talk about the venue of the actual, where the town meeting will be held. That will come up in a next agenda item. And we do not have the minutes yet for the May 15th meeting, which is absolutely fine. We are only at May 26th, so we can do those at a future meeting. Chris, you had mentioned possible days for upcoming meetings. Can you be more specific regarding Friday and Monday, what you're thinking? I don't know if you've polled the 3 of us yet or not.
I have not polled the 3 of you, so I will ask you at this meeting. Friday, in light of what's happening with the complaint and the schedule that Mr. Ahern has at 11 a.m., my suggestion is to meet at 4 p.m. on Friday.
Okay, I'm just
and
going
then
to get my calendar. Hold on.
Or 4:30.
4:30 would actually be better, Chris, if that's possible.
4:30, okay.
Michael, John, or how are you guys on that?
Yeah, no, Friday's good. Means at 4:30 if that works for you guys.
Okay, that's fine with me, Chris. Michael?
Sure, that works.
Okay,
Yeah, that works.
Monday, just a non-traditional time for our board meetings. I'm recommending 5:30 p.m. on Monday.
oh, so you said, okay,
That's fine with me.
5:30 Monday. Works for me as well.
Okay.
Michael, 5:30 Monday?
1 second, yeah, I believe so. Let me just check here.
That's the first day before the election.
Yeah,
Hard to
5:30.
believe.
5:30 will work.
Okay. Dottie, you want to put in your plug for the election and what people can be doing? You want to? I mean, we
Yeah.
talked about town election and discussion of the warrant, so could you just remind people?
Yes, so town meeting will be held on June 2nd. We will have all 4 polling places open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I ask people that are going to the polls to vote, kind of stagger your times, just so that we don't have lines at any point during the day. There's still an option to absentee or early vote. Applications can be submitted through noontime on June 1st. However, I suggest that you do it a lot sooner, because once you submit an application, the ballot has to be mailed to you, and then it has to be returned back to us by the close of polls on June 2nd. We are also making it easier for voters. We're prepaying the postage. So it's just a matter of, once you get your ballot, fill it out, put it in the appropriate envelopes, and then give it to your mailman.
And can I just say that prepaying the postage is such a positive thing. I know somebody in another community where they received it, it wasn't prepaid. They weren't sure what the postage needed to be. And it was so much nicer for us to not have that question and ease of mailing it back. So thank you for doing that for the community. Okay. So again, we have 2 meetings set up. We don't know if we'll use one or the other or both. And Michael Walsh wants to say something.
Yeah, Dottie, people have been asking, can they bring their own pens?
Okay, so what I did was I tested the voting machines on Saturday, and typically we have to use a black felt marker. And I was able to use a black pen, and it went through the machine with no problem at all. So Recreation did offer to donate some pens. They have a lot of pens left over from Westwood Day. So I'll be taking those and putting those. So we'll have a little packet made up for people. We'll have a pen, we'll have gloves, and for those who don't have a mask, we encourage everyone to wear a mask. If they don't have a mask, we will supply one. So they take their bag, they go to vote, and they deposit everything in a trash barrel outside of the building.
So they don't need to bring their own pens,
Bring their own
because they
pens.
run the risk of the pen not being appropriate.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't want,
Red.
people would bring all colors, and we really need a black pen. So we will supply the pens.
So ideally, if they want to bring one, they should bring a black flare pen.
Yeah, but again, it's not necessary, because we will be supplying pens.
And they'll be single-use pens is what Dottie said.
Single-use pen. What happens too, Mike, is if, depending on what type of a marker, if it bleeds, that's an issue with the voting machine being able to read that. So
Okay.
if that's the case, what happens is, if the machine spits it out, it will still be counted. It will be a hand count, but it's much more efficient to use the right proper tools.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking, and thank you for that clarification, Dottie. So the message to the community is, you can use the pen given to you when you arrive to vote, and it will just be disposed of afterwards. So that helps to create a safe situation. And I want to acknowledge that we have our town moderator with us. Thank you, Jim, for joining us. I think you've heard the discussion and you know where we are. You went, yeah, okay, you're off mute. We'll be coming back and discussing more things. So I guess the message to you is stay tuned, and thank you for your input, and we'll include you in a discussion Friday or Monday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Anything else from anybody? Public press? Connor, anybody trying to call in?
I do not see anyone.
Nope. No,
Okay.
Nancy, there's no one on. I mean,
Okay.
there's no questions.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Tish, you're on mute.
Nope, she was there.
No, I'm not.
I heard her.
I heard.
Okay, so our meeting is done here. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Walsh,
Aye.
Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
I say aye as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Tuesday morning after a long weekend. Have a good day.
Thank you all.